Packing last minute was not the best of plans. Realizing I would need a supervised COVID test at around midnight the night before, I made the prompt decision to look up testing centers that I could use to obtain the required certification. CVS testing centers were not open until the afternoon, so I turned back to Google, and the first open one that I found was at the SeaTac Airport 20 minutes south of me. First, though, I would have to finish packing, drop off my son at preschool 15 minutes away, and then drive 30 minutes south to the airport. The result took an hour to get, including walking and waiting for the result to come to me on site in case it read inconclusive. Then I drove a half hour north to my Seattle place and parked there. I also smoked a giant J on the deck and met painters who were getting ready to paint the wall. I could see the cruise ship, and I thought it was closer than it was. I thought it was around the Space Needle, but it was actually quite a ways farther north than that. I called the Uber driver, who was very kind, lifting my overweight bags into the car. Not that there is a weight limit on a cruise. The Uber ride through the city is beautiful. Arriving to the ship, I was overly excited, and the ship seemed larger than life. Every time I would say that, they would say it is not even that big in the world of cruise ships. I felt like an impatient child in line, and the people standing in front of me may have noticed once or twice as I inched closer to them with tiny shuffles. When I got out of the Uber, I had gotten carsick from filming from the back seat. I wasn't sure of the etiquette of what seat in a cab I'm supposed to sit in after COVID, and I decided that it doesn't matter what seat to sit in after that experience, since my driver wasn't wearing a mask and didn't seem to care where I sat. First thing on my mind was catching a break after the night and morning I had, getting 3.5 hours of sleep and then running around all morning. I asked if I could go to my room, and I was told not until 1 p.m. Later, I found out that that is because we were embarking the ship on the same day that the last set of passengers were disembarking. I do not know how many passengers were on the last cruise, but I found out that on the cruise I am on, there are 4,100 passengers and 1,500 crew. I signed up for a Key Pass, which has a few random privileges and seems to be worth around the price. One of the things that came with it is a lunch at Chop's Grill when you board. I also seemed to be offered earlier boarding times so that I could make it to that lunch. I went to the Chop's Grill asking which dining room had the signature Chop's lunch and was told the chic dining room. I made my way there using the map on the ship's app and was shown to a table next to the window. Great, a water view, I thought, but it was an equally impressive view of workers loading unending bags of luggage into the boat using giant bins and forklifts. At one point, a container of luggage even spilled out and had to get loaded again. I was expecting good food. I got excellent food and service from Chop's Grill. I can't remember when I've had a filet mignon that was so tender. After this, I headed straight to the spa for a few appointments I scheduled for myself back around the time that I booked the cruise. The first appointment was the nutritionist, since I wanted to have a healthy spa R&R themed cruise. They basically wanted to know where to find the healthy food options on the cruise and hacks to be as healthy as possible with the least amount of effort while on board. The nutritional consultation did not really have to do with this, unfortunately for me. I did, however, find out a whole lot of information that I didn't ask to learn though, but it was a good thing that the nutritionist Admire had a great personality. He was telling me my weight and my body fat percentage at that point in time, too high for both, and then proceeded to tell me to measure out proteins of 1 to 2 ounces of meat and 2/3 teaspoon of almond butter, or count out 6 almonds and the like. I find that a little ironic now, since I have had a hard time getting small enough portions when I ask for small portions, and the meat portions tend to be around 6 ounces, which to me is humongous. At least give me a whole teaspoon of almond butter, man. The whole thing was still informational and inspiring to focus more on healthy choices while I'm here. Then I had a full body salt scrub and I felt very fresh after. After all that, I visited the thermal spa. The thermal spa and the solarium are the reasons I felt comfortable booking a cruise to Alaska, because I felt reassured that I wouldn't be cold. Then I finally went to my room. The crowd on the first night in the promenade area was a little overwhelming after the spa as well as the day I had, but I found that was the only time the boat got really crowded in any one area. I noticed some bottles of liquor on the counter in the middle of the room, and I assume that was the main reason for the crowd. My interior room is very refreshing, nicely furnished with plenty of storage to be nice and organized. I enjoyed installing my things and the feeling of settling in I got from that. I wasn't sure if it was time for dinner or not. What had happened was I recalled scheduling a specific dining time, and I don't know why I thought this, but I also thought the seats would be assigned and I would be sitting with a group of people I had never met before, being that I am on the cruise solo. Maybe I thought this from that Marilyn Monroe movie where she and her chaperone/friend were on a ship together. I also needed help connecting my laptop to the internet as well as my phone, since I kept getting an error message to disconnect my phone from the internet in order to connect my laptop, since I can only connect one device at a time, even though I signed up for an additional internet package, one for each device. I also needed help understanding why my dining reservations for the main dining room as well as my spa reservations were not showing up. I went to guest services. Crew members were working the help desks, and there was a crew member at the back of the line as well in case they could answer your question without you having to wait in line. They were not able to find out why some of my reservations were not showing up, and so I was directed to the main dining room down the hall to ask them to see about my standing reservations. I did so and was told that I actually did not have a set time to dine, and that is why no dining reservation was appearing on my digital schedule. I have my time dining. Since I didn't have to be there at a set time, I went back to the help desk to see about the internet connection issue. There was an amazing view of the sunset from the portholes, which kept me entertained while I continued to wait for service. Not to mention, the people watching on the ship is top-notch, and everyone is so friendly and in such a good mood. I had a short conversation with a woman in line about the crowd in the promenade area and the liquor packages on the ship. She told me that since she and her husband were in the same room, naturally, they both had to get a liquor package to ensure that they wouldn't be sharing it, even though she doesn't drink that much. I told the husband that he better drink extra. 2 liquor packages are around $100 total per day. I think the woman should have a slightly cheaper alcohol package, since $50 of liquor per day is a high benchmark for drinking. Also, you must buy the package for every night of the cruise. You can't just have it one night. After around 20 minutes, I got to the front of the guest services line. They tried calling the internet specialist on my behalf, but she didn't answer because she was helping someone in person. So I was told where the internet specialist's desk was, which was 1 floor up next to the art gallery. She quickly changed something which allowed me to connect 2 devices. After I worked out all of the kinks for the week, I headed to dinner. I ordered prawns and a mixed green salad. Then I had a salmon which must have been 6 ounces, and I could not finish it. I asked about gluten-free and dairy-free options that were readily available. I was already told at lunch that if I want a gluten-free chocolate cake, then they will bake me a gluten-free chocolate cake. I really appreciate the care and attention that is paid to the guests' wishes. However, I do not want the crew to go far out of their way for me. At dinner, I asked about gluten-free bread. I had 2 waiters. One took away the gluten bread. The other brought more gluten bread and said something to me which I thought he was saying that it's gluten-free. Then the first waiter came back and brought real gluten-free bread and told me that the bread I was eating was actually gluten bread. I didn't like the gluten-free bread, and I also didn't find the bread in the main dining room to be good after the bread at Chops. The shrimp cocktail in the main dining room was also different looking than the one I saw being served at Chops, but it was still great. From the beginning of the meal, I was being asked what I want for dessert. I continued getting asked what I wanted for dessert multiple times. After 3 or 4 times, I finally told them that I want to try the apple pie. But that was before I finished the salmon. Well, to be honest, I didn't eat all of the salmon, but I tried my best. So I tried to unorder the dessert, but the first waiter said that it is too late because the second waiter already went to the kitchen to go get it. From the way they keep asking what I want to order far in advance, and how the second waiter was on a long walk to get the apple pie, I started to gather that the kitchen must be a quarter-mile round trip walk from the dining room. The waiter and I decided for me to take the apple pie back to my room. I walked back to my room with the apple pie, but again, this time, as I did last time, I got lost in the hallway trying to get to my room and had to walk all the way around the front of the ship and back. I promptly got ready for bed, putting the dessert outside and resolving to wait until closer to dessert to order the dessert. And I went to sleep for over 11 hours, enjoying the pitch black darkness and the gentle rocking of the boat.